Evening, Beth. So we have all of council.
Just a reminder, today's conference is being recorded.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk.
I'm remembering, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I don't have to remind you. So we have all of council. We have Michelle Henry, our CAO clerk. We have Judy Mines, our deputy clerk. We have Bob Whitman, our fire chief. And we have Jane Lockwood. And I don't know if, are we expecting anybody else from staff or from, we don't need our planner tonight, I don't think, right? So
that's correct. I'm not aware that any other staff members are joining in. There's only a few items to attend to this evening.
All right. Well, I guess we're coming up to 6:30, so we might as well get going. And if one or two more members of the public want to join us as we go, we'll just try and catch their names. So welcome everybody, and thanks for agreeing to this continuation of the meeting that we started on Monday evening. I guess we're going to. I mean, by and large, it's just a continuation of a meeting that we adjourned, but we will go through a couple of the formalities at the beginning. So I will call the meeting back to order, and I will ask if there is any pecuniary interest to be disclosed on the part of our councillors. So hearing none, I will we'll let the record show that there was no conflict of interest or pecuniary interest declared. So if you still have with you your agenda from the Monday night meeting, you will recall that we were on item 13. We were on item 13.1, and we were on the fourth portion of it, and I will just, for everyone's benefit, I will just, I'm going through the minutes.
Mr. Mayor, sorry to interrupt. We probably should do approval of the agenda for this meeting, because the agenda numbers look different. It's a reduced agenda. Hopefully there's a resolution for that. I think there is.
Okay. I apologize. I don't have that revised agenda in front of me. Can you confirm that it has everything on it that was on the previous agenda, starting with item 13.1?
No. I think I'll have to flip you a copy of the agenda maybe. So
we still have to do, excuse me, Madam Clerk, we still have to do after we deal with the business matters, we have to do correspondence, councillor items, questions from the public, confirming bylaw adjournment, et cetera, right?
That is correct. That is correct. So it's a smaller agenda. It's there's the two business matters, which are the waste management, landfill operational matters, and which really just includes the one, or the resolution will include the ones that didn't get attended to on Monday, the library renovation memo, and then you're right, it moved to correspondence. Unfinished business is on there simply because it was on the same page as correspondence, but that doesn't need to be dealt with. And then you're right, councillor items, questions from the public. Did all the rest of the councillors receive the revised agenda for this meeting?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
I did. I'm just looking at my old agenda, though. I didn't print off the other one.
Right, but the business matters is now number 4, and approval of agenda is number 3.
Yeah.
It's just a housekeeping matter to approve the agenda for this.
Well, I don't mind in this case, but I would point out to you that it is a continuation of a meeting that was adjourned. It it doesn't necessarily have there's really no requirement for it to have a separate agenda. But in any case, since one has apparently been circulated, I'll ask for a motion to approve the remainder of the agenda that you have received. Can I get a mover and seconder, please?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Gorham Matthews moves. Councillor Lamb Councillor McEwen. I apologize. Seconded. Any discussion about the agenda? Can I assume then that everyone is in favor? Hearing no objection, I will assume that that's where we're at. Okay, so thank you. We have an agenda, and that then takes us to item 4. Yeah, I do have the motion, so I have the numbers on the new agenda on the motion. So item 4, business matters. 4.1 is waste management and landfill site operational matters. And just to again, just to take us back to what we did on Monday, make sure that everybody is aware of this. We passed a motion which was part of the motion that was circulated to you, and I'm going to read it to you because it is already covered. It was that the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone does hereby receive memo landfill and waste management operations dated June 15th, 2020 for information. And that, therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone hereby support the following recommendations. That staffing at each landfill site will be increased so that 2 employees are assigned to work at each landfill for the months of July and August, commencing Saturday, June 27th, 2020. And that both landfill sites will have the following hours commencing June 27th, 2020. And those hours are Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Sundays and holiday Mondays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and that large items such as furniture, mattresses, etc. will be accepted per the current fee schedule commencing June 27th, 2020, with protocols in place for the exchange of money and receipts. Sorry, that was crossed out of the motion. That's an error. Sorry, I didn't notice that. So disregard that, the money and receipts. That wasn't part of the motion. And that additional loads of brush over and above the one free load currently permitted will be accepted at the Alds Road landfill site only for a fee of $7 for pickup truck or small trailer size load commencing June 27th, 2020, and that the above procedures be reevaluated by council as deemed necessary. So that motion was actually passed on Monday evening. And I'm assuming that no one wishes to reconsider any of that material. Since I don't hear any objection, that then takes us to the what was the fourth part of the original motion that was there on for consideration on Monday evening, and that had to do with construction and demolition waste. So that's where we are, if you like, on tonight's agenda. Now there is there is a motion and Madam Clerk, I'm going to ask you. Oh, there are. Sorry, there are. I see that there are two motions that we have potentially for consideration. One of them is, I guess, a revised version of the original motion that was there on Monday night. And the second is a resolution that was proposed by Councillor McEwen. Everyone has seen both of those motions, am I correct?
I have them in front of me here. They were printed off. Yes, I have them.
Yes.
So these motions are not in conflict. So, Madam Clerk, is it correct that we should do number 4.1 first? Am I right?
There may be some conflict. 4.1 suggests that household construction demolition will be accepted per the current fee schedule, and we did attach the fee schedule, and there was two versions. The first version, or the second version, was just minor corrections. So the current fee schedule says that construction demolition debris is, not counting commercial, which we're not taking, is for house, we would assume this would be household $35 for a half ton and $65 for a 1 ton truck. That's what the fee certainly schedule says. Where the resolution proposed by Councillor McEwen suggests that household construction demolition debris would be accepted at no charge.
Well, all right. I guess I wonder. Let's test Councillor McEwen's motion first. Is Councillor McEwen, are you prepared to move that motion?
Yes, I am, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Moved by Councillor McEwen. Is there a seconder for Councillor McEwen's motion?
I'll second it for discussion.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Gorman Matthews. So moved and seconded. This motion is again it confines the receipt of this material to the Alds Road landfill site only. It limits the quantity to essentially the equivalent volume of a 45-gallon drum, and there is a weight limit in there as well. As I read it, there is no limit on the number of visits that people can make, but the waste has to be free of certain items, and it has to be sorted and not contain ordinary household waste mixed in with it and that sort of thing. So that's have I done justice to that, Councillor McEwen? Do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, you're fairly close. On the 50-pound item, that would be a multiple of small containers to equate to a 45-gallon drum. Rather than have a 45-gallon drum weighing 200 pounds, then the equivalent of that volume could be broken down into, say, 3 containers or 2 or 3, whatever it takes to make them handleable. So that's where the 50-pound thing comes in. I guess in essence, I know it's different than what the previous fee schedule was, because it was talking about pickup loads and small trailers. I think in comparing through the ad hoc committee, as from my point of view anyways, other communities and what they would allow, if they were only basically a transfer station sort of scenario with minimal additional volumes. So rather than allow a barrage of, say, 200 or 300 or 400 loads of stuff come in by the pickup load, this just restricts it down to, I think, what 45-gallon drum would be, like would be what 1/6 of a pickup load, for instance, if you really piled it in. So it's all trying to try to preserve the volume and the capacity limits in the landfill, even at Alds. Because by transferring everything from York Street, we have to keep in mind that there will be a significant volume of stuff, like everything that went to York, which was the big volume item in past years, is now going to go to Alds. If you note the very bottom of that, this would be for this current year in essence, because in 2021 we will have the next landfill assessment report come out, and at that time we'll be able to have a closer look at what volume and capacities we're going to be able to we will have, and what our effect will be by continuing to dump at, say, this rate from now until the end of the year. So it's just my thought to get away from just free dumping like we did last summer, which we could all see that was going to become a major issue in a couple of years if we did it at York Street, and effectively I think at Alds too if we're not careful about it. So that's kind of a bit of the rationale behind it. So it's just there for discussion and from my perspective.
Yeah. Councillor Lamb.
Go ahead. Yeah, we'll open it up for discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, I appreciate the ad hoc committee. I'm not sure that this is whether this is the conclusion or whether that's unanimous in the committee or not. But and again, I don't pretend to know everything about landfill sites, but I can understand that we can accept household sorted construction waste, which is what we've done in the past, if I understand this correctly. And I can understand that we can't accept that at York Street, which is the main problem and issue because it's got 7 or 8 years life left. But up at Alds, we have many, many more years than that. It's like 35 or 30 or whatever. And, to me, right now, if I take or someone takes household waste to the landfill site, they're going to pay, 35 or 65 or whatever dollars, for that, 35, 65, or 375, right? And, to me, we're going to now say, well, we're not going to accept it at York, and I can get that. And I get people have to sort it. I get that. I just wonder, and it's just wondering, whether we're biting off too much to now start to say in this year that, we're going to accept these, this amount of pounds and these, a drum like that. And for the life of me, I don't know how landfill attendants are going to determine what the heck a drum is or a 90 pounds, or they don't have weight scales and stuff there. I just see us complicating the heck out of it. And it complicates it even further by saying, well, you can't bring it in 1 load, but you can sure as heck go back and bring it in 10 loads, right? So you're going to have to spend the next 2 days coming in, with a equivalent of a drum, and we're going to accept that for free. Like that, it doesn't make rationale to me. I think that by moving it to Alds, you're going to ask people, particularly at this end, and again, there are people who live out at Alds, so it doesn't change what they would do, but the people down in Dunchurch in this area are going to have to drive to Alds, use the gas, etc., to get up there with their construction waste, and they'll accept that. And then we're going to get into this, I don't know, you got this drum, and you got this weight, and you got that, you do it for free. I see nothing wrong for this year with keeping the rates the way they are and assessing how much is going into Alds. We'll be able to isolate it and say, here's what went in this year, and then we can redo it. Do we need to do the fees different? Do we need to do anything? This year is a very complicated year, and I just think on top of all the other changes of saying, take your brush up here, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, we're going to go to clearbacks. I think it's going to be information overload to our citizens, and I think we're trying to do it all in 1 year, and I don't think it's the right thing to do. So I respect Councillor McEwen's what he's trying to do here. I just think we've kind of got it all cocked up, and I can't support it the way it is right now. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I respond to that?
Well, briefly, and I'd like to hear from the other two councillors as well.
Okay, let them go first. That's fine.
Okay. Who wants to go next? Councillor Woods, Councillor Gore-Matthews?
I'll go next.
Sure.
Yeah, so I do support the idea of having everyone take the waste to Alds. I know when Mr. Sheridan Bryan, when he did his report regarding the landfill, he said that the construction waste was the most detrimental thing that was occurring at York Street. And it was last year in particular, if it continued at that rate, that we wouldn't get anywhere near the lifespan that they had been predicting. So I can kind of see where Councillor Lamb is coming from. Perhaps for this summer, just get everybody used to going to Alds with the construction waste. Don't worry about some of the more intricate parts of it. Keep everything else the same, but just have everyone going to Alds for this year just to get used to it. And then as we get more information, we could fine-tune it as we go. But in the meantime, people have that avenue to get started with getting rid of this type of waste.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Woods.
Yeah. The one, I don't think it'd be a good idea to limit the amount and then give it away for free. I mean, what we have in place now, the fee is a little bit low, but that's the fee that we've had for quite some time now. So I think we should stick to that. And as far as everyone going out to Alds Road, I wouldn't have a problem seeing that at all. We need to do what we can to preserve York Street as much as possible, and getting that waste out of there is definitely a good thing. To me, it should work fine. I could see it working out fine for the rest of this year, but I definitely think that this is something that we're going to have to revisit as to what we're doing with our construction waste. Because to get it out of that hole permanently is a good thing for everyone, in my opinion, and that's what I thought the vast opinion of the ratepayers were in Whitestone. But we could send it up to Alds, and I don't think it would damage it too much for the remainder of this year, letting people bring in a trailer load and paying their fees necessary to get rid of it.
Mr. Mayor, do you have an opinion on all this?
Well, yes, I do. I feel that I guess I'm inclined to perhaps prefer the other motion, which is essentially to say, okay, we will take a pickup load or a trailer load of brush, of C&D at the current schedule, and we'll and it doesn't say that in that motion, but I think we had already agreed some time ago that this had to go to Alds Road site, not York Street. So it wasn't. I guess my original thought about this was that perhaps what Councillor McEwen was trying to do was to say, well, we can make some arrangement for some very small quantities to come to York Street, but that isn't what his motion says. And if we're going to stick with our original decision that it all has to go to Alds, then the suggestion that is in the other motion that hasn't been moved yet was to that we could try that for the balance of this year and see. We're going to have a better idea of what kind of volumes we're getting. And keep in mind that we've already, if you look at the landfill rates and fees page that was circulated to you, you'll notice that the commercial piece, which is the large volumes, of course, of both brush and C&D, are no longer permitted. They're those folks, as we've discussed numerous times, still have to get they have to arrange for that material to be disposed of elsewhere, to get a bin or whatever, or get a contractor to take it away or whatever it is. So I guess given how late in the year it is and the potential that we as long as operationally we believe we can accommodate it at Ald's Road, then if we simply continued for the time being with the with the quantities, the volumes that are specified in the current fee schedule, then we could that is probably doable, and it's simple, and it's not it doesn't get us into a whole bunch of questions about how much how much is like a barrel load of stuff. It also I guess goes back to the fact that there is a charge in the fee schedule for, and it's not a very substantial charge, but $35. The schedule currently reads $35 for a half-ton truck trailer or $65 for a one-ton truck trailer, and I have by the way, I've said to our staff and to a few of you, I think the same volume of stuff goes in a one-ton truck as in a half-ton truck or a three-quarter ton truck. It's if you're going by volume, and I would argue that that's what we're doing. We don't have a weigh scale, so we can't weigh it. So if we're going by volume, it should just be a pickup truck or a trailer load. Would be my suggestion, and I guess the $35, and that way, if somebody comes 3 times in the course of the year, they're going to pay 3 times $35 as opposed to having it, having a whole bunch of smaller quantities. Maybe they can bring a trunk load of stuff, and they can bring it every week or something through the whole year. But it seems to me that probably it is more useful for someone who's trying to clean up their place or trying to clean up after a small renovation project or something like that they've done themselves, that they're likely going to want to put it into a trailer and carry it over there in one load rather than take it in a whole bunch. And so I guess I would be inclined to see if there is more support for the other motion. I'm getting a sense right now that that there isn't. I mean, I can call the question on Councillor McEwen's motion if that's your wish, but I'm
again, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry?
I'd like a rebuttal, please.
Okay. All right. That's please go ahead.
Well, first of all, this is a process that works in other locations, and we seem to deem it too complicated for Whitestone. And I know it takes time to work into. It's taken some locations up to a year to really get everybody on side. When you pickup loads. If it's something up to a pickup load, that's one thing. But are you going to allow, and how do you monitor? That's what we grappled with all through this whole thing. How do you monitor the fact that, okay, it's only a refurb in a house or whatever? Well, if it's something exceeding a pickup load for sure, and I'd say even exceeding a 45-gallon drum, then the person's option is to get a bin. I've seen 2 bins in Dunchurch just in the last month where people have done renos in their house. There's one just before the church on the right, and there's one just before the dump road on the left that was there, and that's what they were doing, was working on their houses. When Mr. Sheridan was giving us advice, and we visited landfills, and we talked to different landfills, and we looked at internet issues, and we brought in all kinds of things on how to dispose of items, and I guess the most complicated was the household construction and demolition. The theory that Brian had, and I kind of go along with Brian Sheridan, is that if you bring it in a controlled amount, you're basically bringing it in on a recycling basis. So you utilize your whole facility gradually. If you say you're going to let people bring in pickup loads of stuff, there could be anything and everything in that pickup load, and you're going to allow your attendants 20 minutes or half an hour to help people sort through that. And then tomorrow, or the next time it opens, lo and behold, that same vehicle comes in with another load. So you're not getting into just minimal and small space capacity-wise. You're starting to bring in significant volumes that you're allowing people to bring. So it's equivalent of, and I agree, the pickup size is the same truck for a half, 3/4, or 1 ton. I certainly wouldn't go beyond the capacity of a single pickup load of stuff. The monitoring aspect of bringing in pickup loads, we're just asking for trouble, especially I think if we go to York Street. If we did carry on with a system here to allow people to, say, take stuff, 1 load, say, if we ask them to take 1 load per household per year to York, then we could probably hopefully live with that and see where we are by the time the next assessment comes along. But I guess all councillors should have been on this committee, because we did a lot of researching and went a long ways around, and it's easy to minimize the process and, cut out some of the very significant things that got talked about and revisited and went around and around. Keep in mind, we've been since January meeting bi-weekly pretty much, sometimes 2 or 3 hours on Tuesdays, to try to come up with some suggestions and ideas. So it wasn't just randomly throw it out there. But if council wishes to go till the end of the year, say it all on it, and I'd go along with up to a pickup load, and then we'll see where we are. I just don't know how we're going to break it up into distributable pieces. That's a pretty big deal. Like, it could be concrete abutments, it could be all kinds of things coming in that pickup truck. Hopefully we can keep them from putting in hazardous stuff and household waste. When this does really get split up, some of it will go in with household waste and some in with, I guess, and we're going to have a designated spot maybe to put and accumulate, say, pressure treat materials and some other specialty things like small bits of shingles. And now you're getting into another situation. We had cut out shingles, and what I'm trying to do in my resolution here presented this evening is reduce the number of shingles down to a manageable small volume of shingles. If somebody does a repair or has some shingles blown off and they just have a couple bundles or so of shingles to get rid of in the dump, we can put them over on the side, same place we put the other stuff to accumulate and eventually do something with. I just think I think we're looking at causing problems for ourselves if we get into almost setting up a commercial precedence if we allow people to bring multiple loads. So anyway, having said that, the only thing I would change is up to a pickup load at all, I guess.
Mr. Mayor, can I rebut the rebuttal? Or is that not allowed? Or do you call the question? That's up to you. You're the chair.
Well, I don't mind if we have further discussion and we can refine the motion that we have on the floor to get to where we want. I mean, it's anyway.
Okay, so
go ahead.
So I guess having said that, and Councillor McEwen, in no way am I, or I don't think the other councillors, and I might remind him that Councillor Woods, who kind of decided that we go with the status quo a bit, was on that committee. So, he's not just an also-ran on it. I'm just trying to take one step at a time. Maybe they're baby steps. Maybe they're steps that you don't think are enough, and I can appreciate that. But, I guess I'm a practical person. So we say you're doing a renovation. You've got to go up to Alls. Okay, I think people will accept that, right, as they will the brush. Now you've got 2 loads of construction waste, and I guess you say, rather than bring in a bigger truck and bring it in 1 load, you're only going to be allowed 1 load, right? So what are you going to do with the other load? Well, I don't know what I'm going to do with the other load. I guess I'm supposed to get a bin. Maybe that forces people to get more bins. It brings the whole question up as to, can we have bins at the sites where people can bring this stuff in and we charge them appropriately and bin it out of there, right? At Alls or whatever, right? Which is a whole different sort of subject. I'm not trying to complicate it, but I think by what we're doing is a good step along with everything else, and then we can assess how much construction waste. And you know what? To say, well, people could bring 10 or 20 or 30. We've been living with this for 40 years. They can bring whatever they want now, right? The problem that I heard at the dump sites, and maybe you heard it differently, was people ripping down complete houses and bringing them in, right? Well, if it's a complete house bringing it in, just hold on, I think I have the floor. So, that's what we're trying to, in my opinion, overcome. So I'm not convinced by your argument that we should sort of do what I think everybody wants, and I don't agree it should go to York Street as you suggest. I think that anything in terms of construction waste should go up to Alls, and I think the consensus is that. And I guess the only thing we're really talking about is whether we're going to limit it to 1 truckload or not. And I think it's folly. I think we'll end up with truckloads of stuff not in bins, but on the sides of our roads and other places. And I think that's a worse outcome than, going with the status quo. And then once we have a year where people get used to going up there, right, and dumping their waste there, it's only a few months. You'll know by October how much construction waste went in there. This isn't, we can change it for January. We can look at it as a single unit. But to me, we go around and around and around and around on this thing. And, at some point, we can't go to 11 o'clock tonight. We have to make a decision. So I still support that we move it to Alls, that we leave our fee schedule the way it is. If you want to pump the fee schedule up a little bit, I don't. That's no never mind to me. But that we accept construction waste from households this year as we have in the past. That would be my motion. But again, I don't know which motion is on the floor. And again, it's done, Joe, respectfully. I know you guys did a lot of hard work. So, but I have an opinion too as a counselor, right? And that's my job, and I have to represent people as best I can. So, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. I respect your thoughts too. It's just that we have to start looking seriously at making decisions that councils haven't made for the last 10 years and should have been making. And maybe we'd be looking at 20 years out of York Street instead of, and what we're hoping for right now through all this, and hopefully the assessment will come out good to our advantage and say, oh, geez, if you don't put much in there, maybe you can get 15 years out of the darn thing. So, no, I see where you're at. I only have the concern, and if I could, Mr. Mayor, we're going back to the discussion we had many times over and over and over. How do you quantify an amount that can come to the dump? Like you can tear down a whole facility and bring it in 8 different loads over 3 months or 4 months or whatever the heck. So that's construction in my opinion. So we're still setting us up for the potential of that. So I guess that's why we kind of went back to try to zero in on a quantity. And the 45-gallon drums, that's just a number. Same with the pickup load. But if we allow multiple loads to pick, we're setting ourselves up. So my hope would be that we go for a designation of a carded, a ticket for a load, and whether it's a free load or not, I'm neither here nor there. If we're going for a pickup load, I'd certainly say we should put charges on it as per the fee schedule. The 45-gallon drum, it's kind of a free kind of scenario at other facilities, and they do it on a, well, it's a recycling kind of process is what they do. So they allow it. But if we're going to get into pickup loads, and we're trying to monitor that people only bring one or maybe allow a second one and charge them accordingly. Thank you. Sorry.
May I speak, Mr. Mayor?
Yes. I'd like to hear from the other councillors, and then all right, go ahead, please.
Yeah. I completely understand where you're coming from, Councillor McEwen. And I know you and Councillor Woods have put so much work into this. And, I think we just really got blindsided by this whole COVID-19 thing. And I think for this year, we just have to keep it simple, not only for the people that are using the dump, but the people that work there as well, just so that it keeps running smoothly. I don't know if they have the time, with people making their rounds through the landfill to make sure that this is sorted and that's sorted just for this year. Let's just get through this summer. And I completely understand that this is something that needs to be looked at further, but just for this summer, let's just try to survive and get everybody to be able to get rid of some of their stuff that they have at home and relook at this. But for this summer, I think we just need to keep it simple and keep it in a familiar setting for the staff and for the people using the landfill.
Thank you. Councillor Woods?
Let's see. Well, I like I said earlier, I wouldn't object to trailer loads going out to Alds Road. I think it would be a pretty good exercise to see what we get for volume. To say that we can only allow people to bring one, I don't think we should be doing that right now. The last time that we had the environmental assessment, the full assessment done, I believe was 2018. I was on the floor during that meeting. They said we had a maximum of 12 years out of York Street and 35, I want to say it was, out of Alds.
You're
so
right.
For us to move everything there, I can't see us, we'd be at about 10 years now with York Street. We shouldn't put anything in there. I thought that's what everybody had agreed to. We've got to try and get all of this waste out of the hole. That's going to preserve our dump even longer for our household garbage. Now, to move it all out to Alds, I don't think for the remainder of the year it's going to have a massive impact. But it would be a very good way to monitor how much we're getting in coming from our residents, from their little construction projects, as to see if it's feasible, because I do believe it's feasible, and I believe it's the best way to handle our construction waste is to go into a bin and get it shipped out, which I've said from day one. Now, it's not going to kill us at Alds Road to bring all that there. If somebody brings 2 or 3 loads in, I don't think it's going to shorten our lifespan a great deal. We should just keep it at the schedule that it is now, the fees that are scheduled. Let people bring their waste in. Like everyone knows, this has been one heck of a year for everybody. People have been mounting garbage up at their properties, little things that they've been doing. They haven't been able to get rid of it. Let's do right by our residents. Let them bring all of their waste in. Pay the fee, however we're going to handle the payment, fine and dandy. But open the dump up and let our residents use their facility.
Okay, well, thank you. I think what I'm sensing, and I think what I'm sensing is that there is this motion doesn't have support. But since it is on the floor, I think what I'd like to do is to call the question and see if we can get where we need to go. Either by amending it or by maybe the other one is in fact closer to where we want to go, and we'll just see if somebody moves that, there are a couple of things we might want to tack onto it. But can I just call the question then for this one in the interest of time?
No. Well, Mr. Mayor, the other thing that I might throw out is, in fairness, is that maybe the mover and the seconder would like to withdraw the motion, and that's another way to do it, right? And then we don't. That is
if you. I will ask the mover.
That'd be a tidier way to do it, and sensing that we're staying away from York Street, that is probably first and foremost in my mind. So if we want to withdraw it, and I don't know if we can put a limit on the number of vehicles or whether we just go full tilt to the end of the year, but I understand where council's coming from. We do only have 6 months. So
now, okay, so are you willing to withdraw the motion, Councillor McEwen?
I will. I'm not quite sure what the second motion is for sure yet, but
well, all right. We'll come to that in a second. And the meeting has to agree that he can withdraw the motion. Is there any objection to?
Well, I think the seconder has to agree also, right?
The seconder has to agree. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I said yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. So the motion has. I'm recording that that particular motion has been withdrawn. Now the other motion, and I believe you have it. It says the page says 4 business matters memo waste management landfill site operations, and what it says is that household construction and demolition waste will be accepted in small quantities as per the current fee schedule commencing June 27th, 2020. And that no cash or receipts will be exchanged for the payment of any fees. And we talked about that. I'm not sure why that's there again, but we talked about that in the previous motion that we passed on Monday. And that staff will develop a protocol for tracking ratepayer information for waste deposited that is subject to fees such that ratepayers will be invoiced from the office for the amounts as determined by the landfill attendant. And that the above procedures be reevaluated by council as deemed necessary. So is there a mover and seconder for that motion?
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Woods, I'll move that if we remove small quantities.
Well,
small quantities doesn't say a truck or a trailer. That's my only thing.
So you want to amend you want to amend the motion. Do you want to do it before or
we could do it after. Either way.
Can I get a seconder, please? Let's do it this way.
I'll second the motion, and I think the way to do it is if Councillor Woods wants to amend the motion that he does it, and then we that's the way to do it. Yeah.
I agree 100%. We have to define what small quantities are, and I'll let Councillor Woods suggest what those quantities are, but there are 2 aspects I think that we have to consider. One is what is the volume of, how are we going to describe to ratepayers the volume of material that they can bring beyond which, and this is in a single load now, beyond which we are going to consider that that's commercial. And so the person who's sort of controlling entry to the dump site to Alds in this case at the because this is specific to Alds, right? That they're going to they're going to look at the size of the trailer or truck or whatever, and they're going to say to the person, "I'm sorry, you cannot bring that in here." Right? So what is the volume? And that's part number 1. And part number 2 is, how many times can you do it? It's one thing to say, well, you can bring a pickup truck with the box full of stuff. You can bring a trailer that's roughly the equivalent of a pickup truck box in size. And but what if they come back tomorrow with the same thing, and then the day after with the same thing? Or how often do you allow them to do it before you say, sorry, you should have got them in for this? That's so. Councillor Wood, I'm asking Councillor Woods if he wants to try and frame that definition of what is a small quantity.
Well, to me, that's why I said take out small quantities. As of like the way that it's been always is you can bring a truck or a trailer load in. You bring it in, you pay for it. You dump it. And for the remainder of the year, we should keep it like that. And that'll give us a really good idea on what people are doing. I mean, I agree, you know, if someone tears a house down, they should get a bin, but there's other ways to deal with that. And I've discussed this. I discussed it through a couple different meetings, you know, a lot of the meetings with our committee. I've discussed this with different staff members. There's multiple different ways that we could deal with that without making it as something, you know, you can only bring this much to the dump.
So you're relying on the fee schedule, basically, is what you're relying. You're relying on the definition that's in the fee schedule. Is that
the current way that it's, you know, that it's always been for the remainder of the year, and then we absolutely have to revisit it for next year.
Okay,
Mr.
so
Mayor,
you want...
Mr. Mayor, as the seconder, I would agree to take out in small quantities. What I hear the consensus is, and I don't want to put words in people's mouths, is that, you know, it's going to go to alls. We're going to remain the status quo with the status quo in terms of you know, the cost per pickup truck, etc. for the rest of this year, and we're going to look at it, you know, as the year goes on and ascertain how much is going in there, what we need to do next year, and how we need to do it, right? I think that's what I hear. So trying to define what's a small quantity, or you've been back once, or you've been back twice, or you've been back 3 times, again, was that a huge issue last year and the year before and the year before and the year before? It's just the status quo. Like that's, I think, what we're hearing. And I think we're taking a muffin and trying to make it into a meal, right? Like let's just do what we're doing, only say household waste goes to all, plain and simple. And by taking out small quantities, I think does that. And by going any further, just complicates stuff, right? Well, you only get 3 times, so you get twice a month. You know,
I hear you. I will.
Yeah.
I will remove the words in small quantities. Thank you. That's because it says as per the current fee schedule. So we have already removed anything bigger than a you know, a 1-ton truck, right? Yeah.
Could I speak when I get my turn? I totally disagree with getting away from something that resembles sort of small quantities, because we're opening it up to commercial use is what we're doing. We talked about that around and around. I know we did, and as Councillor Lamb says, it keeps coming back, which is frustrating as heck. The number of loads and who brings the loads, that was discussed seriously. Should it come under the auspices of the homeowner and with the homeowner's card? Or are we opening it up to a picket from anybody who lives in the municipality and is doing construction work and commercial work? That's what we're opening it up to. So I disagree with taking out small quantities, and I think small quantities should reflect a pickup load or 2 pickup loads per year with the homeowner's card presented.
Keep in mind, though, that we are tracking who is bringing anything for which there is a charge. That's part 3 of this motion, right? So the information is going to be there as to who it is, and
So you can bring it on my behalf because you're a resident then and give my name, or how does that work? The homeowner isn't necessarily the one taking this type of material to the landfill. And that's when you get into the commercial side of
Well,
things.
I've already, I mean, I've already spoken to the issue. What I'm hearing from 2 councillors is they want to. They want to amend the motion, and I did this deliberately. There is we'll handle it this way. There's a motion on the floor to amend what was read here by removing the words in small quantities. I'm going to test that motion. Well, I'll just go down the list. Who wants to remove in small quantities?
Well, in fairness, Mr. Mayor, I don't think you deal with it that way. You deal with the whole motion, or am I wrong?
Well, no. In normal procedure, it is possible to amend, and the motion that was moved was with the exact wording.
Okay.
And so we have now a motion from Councillor Woods, and you seconded it in effect, saying I want to remove the words in small quantities. So I just want to test that.
Thank you.
Who else? Is there agreement to remove the word in small quantities? Councillor McEwen says he wants to keep it. What about the others who? What about? I guess it's Councillor Gorham Matthews who hasn't spoken.
Yeah, I would like
definition on it.
Sorry, go ahead, Councillor Gorham Matthews.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I would like it to reflect the fee schedule for now.
So you agree to remove the word small quantities?
Yes.
Okay, so 3 people so far want to remove the word small quantities, so I would say offhand it's removed. We now have an amended motion. Is there anything else about this motion that you want to put in before I call the question?
May I speak, Mr. Mayor? I just wanted to point out that it doesn't say that it will just be received at Ald's landfill.
But we already agreed. I'll ask the CAO to confirm this. I think we already agreed that it would only be received at Ald's. Am I correct, or am I wrong about this?
I believe we have. I need to check my memo and the many.
Well, I think we should amend.
For clarity, let's just put it in then. Let's just put it in for clarity. Will be accepted at the Ald's Road site only.
Correct.
For the balance of this year?
Well, it says it will be reviewed, doesn't it, somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's adequate that it says it's going to be reevaluated.
As deemed necessary. Well, that may never happen. But anyway.
Well, you can if you want, but say for the balance of this year. It's up to you. But I mean, we're obviously going to have to look at it at some point in
why don't we
the near
tie
future.
Landfill assessment report.
I'm sorry. Say that again, Councillor McEwen.
Why don't we tie it in with the next landfill assessment report, which is in 2021? Right, something.
Well, okay, so
it's not my motion, so it's up to the mover.
Well, okay. You said your word was when the next landfill assessment report is complete, and this says as deemed necessary. Is that, can we treat those as the same thing, or?
I think. Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I think the problem is that we're going to want to reassess this, closer to the end of this year. I don't know when the new report's coming in, right? But at the end of the year, come December or whatever, we say how much household waste was in there. Let's have a report and discuss this. Should it be 35? Should it be 75? Should we do this? Should we do that? So that we're well ahead of this thing before the 2021 construction season. So I don't want to wait for reports that might come next July and then, start to discuss this. So I think as deemed necessary, Councillor McEwen can come in November and say, I deem this necessary, right, as a councillor, and put it on an agenda, and it'll be on the agenda.
Okay.
Does that make any sense? I mean, I don't want to tie ourselves into some report, and I don't want to tie ourselves into, somehow we're saying whatever that report says is going to deem our decision. But their decision is going to be made at the time, based on, partly what that says and partly a lot of other stuff. So I'm not trying to prolong this, but I think as deemed necessary is is fine, or as I guess you could
Yeah.
put as deemed necessary for next year or whatever. I don't know. I just think it complicates it, right? So,
All right. Well, can I call the question on this
Sure.
resolution, or do we need further discussion? Okay, I'm going to go down the list if you don't mind, just for the sake of making sure we've got. And let me just point out. I will read the motion again. It's that household construction and demolition waste will be accepted at the Olds Road site only, as per the current fee schedule commencing June 27th, 2020. And the rest of the motion, the other three parts, and then no cash and receipts, the protocol for tracking ratepayer information, and that the above procedures be reevaluated by council as deemed necessary, those remain the same. They're not. So that's what we have in front of us right now. Can I call the question? Councillor Gorham Matthews?
Yes.
Councillor Lamb?
yes.
Councillor McEwen?
Mr. Mayor, I might point out that the present schedule includes a single axle and a tandem pickup truck. I oppose the motion. Thank you.
No, those have been a single axle. I'll ask the clerk to confirm, but for February 18th, 2020 resolution, those are considered commercial C&D and have been removed, correct?
Yes, I apologize. I see that. Yes, sorry. But I oppose the motion. Thank you.
You're okay, thank you. Councillor Woods?
Yes.
All right, thank you, and I will support the motion. So the motion is carried, not unanimously, but it is carried. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I know that part was difficult. So let us move on then to, as quickly as we can, to the remaining items. We don't have too many, I hope. We're at item 4.2, 4.2, and this is a library renovation and construction update, and the CAO has a report for us, which I'll ask her to give.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The memo is a bit of an update with some changes recommended at the time I wrote it. I've since had a couple of construction meetings with the contractor and the architect, and some recommendations that I suggested be added back into the project. Some of those have changed, and that's the insulation options. We found a much less expensive method to insulate the old building. We are adding in patio stone, gravel, and soffit. I've since added removal of the hydro lines overhead, and where they're going to be buried. So for the purposes of this meeting, I suggest we just accept the memo for information, and you can trust that I'm working with the contractor and the architect to move this project along. And it doesn't happen daily, but on a regular basis, there's small adjustments to the project. There's additions and subtractions to the cost, and we're still on budget. The biggest one, of course, is the cost of the low impact blasting that's going to be done so that we can get the basement done, and that change order's already been signed, and we're waiting for the contractor first week of July. And in the meantime, the Mark Lane is busy working on the outside, and if you drive by, you can see lots of activity happening there. So that's an update. It's going well. We're not expecting any other significant issues. Certainly the blasting is the largest cost, and everything else is expected to go smoothly.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Lamb, I have a comment. First of all, our CAO is doing a fabulous job in terms of project managing this. And, you'll notice, for instance, the steel roof is on, and I think that's what Councillor McEwen brought up last time, and I think that's a very legitimate thing. And so, we're back to the shingle roof, which is fine. I think the burying of the the wires versus having, telephone poles and hydro poles and things is a good thing. I think it's a couple $1,000s. So we're back kind of, we never were out of budget. But anyway, Michelle spends a lot of time on this and other projects, and she's doing a great job. The library board met today. They're, of course, elated with the project. They're busy, shopping and sourcing and looking at, some furniture options and shelving and those sorts of things that, of course, they'll work with the CAO on. And so there's lots of activity behind the scenes, and it's being led by Michelle. And as I say, I wanted to give her kudos. She came into our meeting at the community center today, and we were all social distancing, and the library board actually gave her I don't know if it's called a standing ovation, because most of us have sore hips, so we didn't stand, but we gave her a clap anyway. So and it's well deserved. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Lamb, for the update there, and kudos to the library. I do get the odd question out there about, we started in with a budget of $450 to $475 or something, and we're up to $700,000 to the library, and it's like, how do you justify that? Like, I try to do it the best I can to support it, but I'm wondering if we could have a report on reasons that would be a thing that the public could understand. I know the people who are close to it, they want it to increase for various reasons. But I guess, I don't know, the other question I kind of have is the money that went from the roof, could that not go toward the blasting when I see the recommended changes for the project, and now we're talking about taking it out of the contingency fund? Are we maybe I could ask the CAO, are we well into the contingency fund now? I would have thought we could offset that pretty much by taking the roof monies and putting that toward the blasting.
Thanks through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. Originally, when the contract was first awarded, we didn't include the cost of the steel roof. It wasn't until we found out that the FedNor funding came along that there was a discussion about adding the steel roof in. So we added it in. Now we're taking it out. It's really a wash. It would have added to the cost of the project, but there would have been less municipal funding required because of the $150,000 for FedNor. So that's how that piece worked. We will be $35,000 into contingency for sure, but there's other savings that we found in other places. So it continues to be a plus and minus as we go through the contract. And we're because we're smack in the middle of it right now. And like I say, I think the biggest extra cost is going to be the blasting. Beyond that, there's just small costs here and there. We found some savings with lighting, with some doors. We found some savings that are incremental, but it'll all add up in the end. And I don't see why we would be over budget based on the budget that was approved by council. And certainly to your question of why the extra cost, it really was the construction costs that were unexpected when we went to tender. Certainly not what the initial estimate provided to us. And other than that, I do have a listing of all the incremental costs that the contractor is charging us for things, and who's to say whether it's right or wrong, but I think it's the market cost right now for construction.
Mm-hmm. I hope I was
okay.
I hope I was kind of correct when I would make a statement like, well, we had an estimate which was kind of a walk-around estimate to a certain degree, and then when the contractor prices did come in, they were anywhere from $550 to $650. So when you put taxes on and you get into all the further stuff. I was supportive of it, but I had some difficulty because we've been forwards and backwards on it and not being real close to the numbers. So, yeah, and I guess this the library expansion project report, which is in the minutes or with the agenda, that's public knowledge anyway. That is correct. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, CO.
Any other questions or comments? Can I get a motion then to receive this report for information, please?
I'll move, Mr. Mayor. Joe McEwen.
Mr. McEwen, seconded by
I'll second.
Councillor Gorham Matthews. Thank you. All those in favor of receiving this report, or is anyone opposed to receiving the report? Let's do it that way. I don't think we need a roll call to receive a report for information. All right, I will record that motion is carried. Next item is correspondence. Could I get a mover and seconder, please, that we received the correspondence items for information with the following extracted for further discussion, and the suggestion is that they should be, that items B, C, F as in Frank and I, B, C, F, and I, be extracted for discussion. Are there any other ones that you would like to add to that list? Okay, so can I get a motion? Can I get a mover and seconder, please?
I'll move it, Councillor Lamb.
Seconded by?
I'll second it, Councillor Woods.
Thank you very much. All those in, well, I'm going to say all those in favor. Is anyone opposed to receiving them? All for information. Okay, the motion is carried, and now we have the matters arising from the correspondence, which are the ones that we wanted to talk to. Item B was a request from the Women's Own Resource Center for funding. The request was dated June 1st. We've received it. Is there any action? Does anyone have a proposal as far as action in response to this request?
Well, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Lamb, I can give you some history of this organization. Many, many years ago, being 10 or 12, or 10 anyway, Councillor Carter at the time somehow got hooked into this organization, which is more, Burkes Falls and that whole area, and it was minimal. And he kind of went to meetings 3 or 4 times a year. They didn't ever have much to do with us because they were talking about, over to Magnetawan only, right? And then they asked for us to chip in for a sign. I don't know whether anyone was on council, or to say Gamowan Highlands is a wonderful place to live, work, and play. And we said, well, we're not part of that, right? And the sign was going to flip their way, not our way, right? So anyway, we decided at that time to get out of it. We have limited funds. We support the things that are within our region and within, so we just have not supported this for a number of years. So I guess they're coming back and asking again. So, but we did support it at one time for, a nominal amount. But there's all kinds of things over in Burkes Falls and Huntsville and Bracebridge that we could, I guess, support if they asked us for money for whatever, right? But that's not our privy, right? Our privy's here in Parry Sound. So I won't be voting to give them any monies, but others may choose to.
Okay, thank you for that background. Are there other comments?
It's difficult to comment when we don't have stats as to whether people from this area were in that program. They give stats, but they don't include, say, Whitestone.
Madam CAO, do you have any further information about this, or?
Actually, no, I don't. I don't know if they would. I don't know if they could tell us if folks from Whitestone use this service. I could certainly ask.
May I comment, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that that group, Women of Whitestone, not last year, but maybe year before, they did have the Women's Own Resource Center come and do a seminar for the Women of Whitestone. That they're a group of women, obviously, that have local businesses, and it was well attended. There's probably about a dozen people that were there, and they gave a free afternoon seminar on how to use Facebook and other social media type things to promote your business. So they did come to Whitestone within the last year or two.
And what
Mr.
they're
Mayor?
asking for is a donation in the amount of it says 0.50 cents, but I'm assuming they mean 50 cents or $0.50 per capita, which our sign says we have 1,100, so that means we have they want $550. Would I be interpreting that correctly?
If the question is to me as the CAO, that would be my interpretation, yes.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Lamb, we've already gone through the donation policy, and I know it's what we've sort of waived from, saying everybody let us know and we'll vote on it. Now we're into, June, and they're way beyond the date. I'd rather give, if I had $550, I'd rather give it to the Women of Whitestone for running businesses.
All right. So let me ask the question this way: does anyone wish to move that we give them that we donate at this time, or will we simply ask our staff to respond to them that we've exhausted our donations for this year, and
I think that's appropriate, and just send them the information to fill out the form so that we can look at it next year in the timely manner with all the other applicants.
Okay,
so go ahead.
Moving forward with our library and resource center and technical group, I'd say we could probably provide this service locally. Maybe not right momentarily, but in the very near future.
Well, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Lamb, and I think that's an excellent question. The answer to that is we do right now. And if anyone, excuse me, I'm losing my voice here, probably for talking too much, but Eva, who's on staff with us at the library, is on call all the time and answers people's technology questions on a weekly basis, right? So if Councillor McEwen had a problem with FaceTime or didn't know how to work Twitter or anything like that, he could call the library and Eva would call him back. And I personally had it, and so is my wife, and she's absolutely excellent at navigating through just about any type of problem, or for instance, we have Ancestry.com at the library. She could take you through that. You can look through your ancestors. Like, she's a wonderful resource, and I encourage anyone who's listening to put that out, and for us to put it out, because she's doing that right now on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to just get the resolution of this item then I look for a mover and seconder of the following. Whereas the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone has received the Women's Own Resource Center request for funding dated June 1st, 2020 for information purposes. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone does hereby direct staff to respond that we have exhausted our donation budget for this year. Would somebody like to move that, please?
I will.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that, but could we include in there that we are confident in our local staff or our local technical
Resources.
resources?
Okay, you wish me to add and is that what you want to say? That we and that we are confident in our local resources to provide these services? Is that?
I think so.
To provide some of these services or whatever, right? So they don't.
Yeah.
We appreciate their offer, but anyway.
Okay, that's perhaps a good idea, so they don't just come back next year with the same thing. And that we are confident in our local resources to provide some of the same services. All right, that sounds like a good. Sorry, I'm just writing this down. Some of the same services. So that is moved by Councillor Gorman Matthews, seconded by Councillor McEwen. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you very much. That motion is carried. The next item is item C. The Rotary Club of Westbury Sound is requesting that they be permitted to transfer our donation from the three-pitch event to their virtual fundraising events. Whereas the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone has received the Rotary Club of Westbury Sound request to transfer the Whitestone donation in the amount of $500 from the three-pitch event to their virtual fundraising events dated June 1st, 2020 for information purposes. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone hereby approves the request to transfer the Whitestone donation to the Rotary Club of Westbury Sound to the virtual fundraising event themed Serving Our Community's Greatest Needs. Could I get a mover and seconder?
I'll make that motion, Councillor Lamb.
Thank you. Seconded by?
I'll second
Councillor Woods.
Okay, I got Councillor Woods this time. Any discussion of this motion? Okay, is anyone opposed?
Leaving conference.
Thank you. That motion is carried. The next one is asking for a motion of support for the Honorable Steve Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and his request to the federal government to improve broadband internet access across Northern Ontario in smaller communities, and further that a copy of this resolution be distributed to all 22 municipalities in the District of Parry Sound, with copies forwarded to, and there's a list of various elected officials here. Could I get a mover and seconder for this one?
I'll move. Councillor Woods.
Councillor Woods, seconded by?
I'll second it, Councillor Lamb.
Go ahead.
Seconded by Councillor Lamb. Is there any further discussion on this one?
Yeah, Councillor Lamb. Of course, it's important. Well, first of all, it's tremendously important to us up here to get the broadband and the internet. I think I've spoke to this before. The tower, which I could take 10 steps and go look out my back door, the new one on Canning Road has made a tremendous difference, and for the people at least in this area. And we're now able to get a $60 package from Bell for 350 gigabytes of data a month, which is really good. It's going up to 80 in 6 months. But anyway, so, we're moving ahead slowly. Highway 124 has got fiber optics up and down, and I'm not sure I understand all that. But more importantly, part of the project we're talking about at the library is that, FedNor has invested in us because, we've assured them we're going to become a library and technology center, right? So we can buy computers, we can have computers, we can have people, when they need to, you can't apply for a job at Walmart anymore unless you're on a computer and you're applying for it, right? We can have all those services in the library, which we intend to have. But if at the end of the day 4 people get on it and it bogs down to a snail's pace and we can't use it, it's a crying shame in our society, right? So we whatever we need to do in terms of this vein to speed that up and to get better is just, it's so critical to the operation of a community like ours. We have more and more people moving up here, more and more people doing their work from home, then visiting the office. That office may be in New York or Toronto or San Francisco, once every 2 weeks, but they're here, but they need internet to do their business. So this is critical to our economic survival, and so I wholeheartedly support anything. I noticed the provincial government, I think, put like $150 million into rural broadband or something. I don't know whether that's a drop in the bucket or a large amount of money, but man, this as we've identified in our strategic plan for many years, this is one of the most critical items that we need to get in Whitestone, and I think everyone agrees with that. So I wholeheartedly support the motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, can I call the question then? Is anyone opposed if we... Where's this resolution? Whoops. Sorry, I just signed the wrong piece of paper, but that's all right. Okay. That brings us then to the last item of correspondence that we wanted to pull out, which was number I. And this is a slightly, I'm trying to get it up on the screen in front of me here, but this is, well, anyway, I'm not going to.
Mr. Mayor,
you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm not going to. I won't keep you waiting. I'll just speak to it. Were you going to say something, Councillor McEwen?
I didn't have it printed out. If there was a printed version for I.
It was added on at the on Monday. No, it was added on since Monday.
I'm not aware of it, so someone will have to read it out. I don't know what it is.
Just explain.
Well, you know what? I think probably this is I'm sorry if people didn't get it, because I was aware. I was, in this case, I was aware of it, but I'll just give you a very quick summary. A lady by the name of Michelle Mele, M-E-L-E is her name, who is an entertainer, approached the municipality with a proposal, and the proposal was to have a concert. She's a musician and an entertainer, and she was proposing to put on a concert from a barge on Lake Wawashkash. And she said that, I gather, because although I don't know her, I've never heard her perform either, but she does have some reasonable credentials as a performer at places like the old mill in Toronto, and she, I guess, had some connection with the Washkesh in the summers and so on, and so she thought, well, this would be a good thing to do to sort of relieve some of the boredom of COVID-19 and whatever. And I think the idea was that the performers would be on the barge and people could come out in their boats and with keeping appropriate separation between the boats, could listen to the concert. And I guess she wanted to know what we thought of the idea. Now, I have passed the idea on to the because she was talking Washkesh specifically, we passed the idea on to the Washkesh Conservation Association, who I think thought it was interesting, but I guess the question was, well, what would the logistics be? And by the way, we don't know what she herself personally and her band are trying to get out of this themselves in terms of a fee to do it or anything like that. My observation was that our recreation budget for the year is largely unspent. It is a sort of thing that could perhaps be done, say, on one of the long weekends, not July 1st, obviously, but the August 1st or Labor Day weekends or something. It could be done with appropriate arrangements and all that, and publicity and all of that kind of thing. At this stage of the game, we don't know what it would cost. We haven't, as you know, all of our recreation activities are currently unspent, and who knows, maybe at that particular point in time we will also be in a position to do. We could conceivably at Labor Day, say, be able to do some fireworks or something. I don't know. I mean, there have been no plans made for these things because we've been playing COVID-19 by year, as you're all aware. So I guess I put it on the agenda mostly for information, just to see if anybody in the group had any thoughts on whether that is something we might entertain or not.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Lamb, just in the sake of kind of moving on here, and I appreciate you giving us a summary. I think that in without getting any information at all, which I don't have, and maybe it's my fault, it's very difficult to say, right? Is she asking for $3,000 or $500 or $10,000, right? If there's no money asked, she wants to do it for free, then I think she should deal with the Wawashkesh conservation people who have most to do with the lake and would advertise it and do everything else. But I mean, short of that, I mean, I'm not against giving some funds from the recreation department, to that. But what is it? I don't think we know enough information. So I'm not against it. It's just, I think, as Ricky Ricardo would say, there's a lot of explaining to do, right, that I don't have at this point in order to make a proper decision on it, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't have the answers to your questions because we haven't. We only just got this recently, and as I say, we referred it to the Conservation Association. And they said, well, we're going to have a board meeting and we'll talk about it. And they came back and said, oh, yeah, that'd be a great idea. We'd be happy to publicize it. But again, nobody knows the dollars. I mean, is it logistically possible? Sure, but the dollars, nobody knows. So I think I'm not looking for I'm not looking for anybody to approve anything. At this point, I just thought it would be maybe for information that you would.
Sure, good.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, may I speak? Yeah, I did see the letter, and I did go on to her YouTube site and listen to some of her music. And she is a professional entertainer. She has quite an eclectic variety of music. So, I think, like everyone else has said, if we could get some more information, I think it's a unique concept and it could be something interesting to look at. But for sure, we need to know what their ask is and their expectations from the municipality. But, yeah, if you go onto her YouTube site, there is quite a variety of videos of these things. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
okay,
Lamb, we might want to add someone like David Vaders from the Whitestone Resort, who in himself is a a big kind of entertainer. Maybe he would do something in that vein. Maybe he'd do that on Whitestone. I don't know. So
well, that's what I was going to say, babe. I figured that was the destiny. You were going to say, what do Whitestone like?
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm not against the concept. It's just we have to explain what the cost is, what the liability is in terms of, COVID-19. All those things are kind of still up in the air, right? So anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. We'll, in the interest of time, we'll go on to try and wrap this up. But thank you for the next item on the agenda is councillor items. Does anyone have any councillor items? I have two, but I'll let somebody else go first if you have an item. Okay, I guess I'll do mine. Two things very, very quickly. Just for your information, in the next couple of days, new bottle sheds will be appearing, and I'm talking about tomorrow and Friday, at the York Street landfill site. There is some rearrangement and cleaning up there going on that is scheduled for the next couple of days. By the weekend, I think you will see some new things, and one of the things that you'll see is the new bottle sheds. It's actually two separate buildings. One for receiving and sorting the bottles, and the other is for the cans and bottles. And the other is for actually storing them prior to them being returned. And once those are up in place, we should be in a position to start accepting returnable bottles and cans again as of that June 27th, that Saturday, June 27th. And once it's all up and ready to use, we'll let the folks who do that sorting and so on know, and get them to transfer the bottles and cans that they have stored in the old shed into the new one, so that the old one can be demolished or taken away or whatever. So that's item number one.
Your Worship, I was at the landfill site at York Street on Sunday, and one of them's already there with two. Maybe I've got it wrong, but it's a container, nice looking container, with two white doors on either side.
That's something different. Do you want to explain, Madam CAO, what that is?
Oh, okay. I don't know what that is, but it's a good-looking building. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that is a storage shed that Mr. Sheridan purchased actually last year, and that's for our staff. There's string trimmer and some of the other things that they use that don't fit in the attendant shed, and that will be relocated along with a number of. There's going to be some work done at the York Street landfill, and that will be relocated over to closer to the attendant shed, and some other bins will be removed. Tires should be leaving in the next week or so. I think we found someone that wants to take them to turn them into blasting mats. So where that storage shed is that you mentioned with the sliding overhead doors, that's the location of the two new bottle sheds.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. No problem. The other item that I wanted to report to you is a sad one. I'm sorry to have to advise that Mike Messina, some of you will have met Mike or at least heard his name, passed away about a week ago now. Mike is a fish biologist. He's a retired professor from the University of Auburn, Mississippi, who has cottaged on Wawashkesh for many years. He has been for several years a director of the Wawashkesh Conservation Association, and he was the person who was responsible for primarily responsible for the water quality monitoring program on Wawashkesh. He he has also been a member of our Awashkesh Landings task force. Anyway, he had been battling cancer for some time, and I spoke to him probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, and he was still hoping he would get up here once the U.S., because he's in the States, he was hoping that the U.S. border would open and he would get up to the cottage, but he took a turn for the worst very, very, very quickly and passed away the last weekend. So I would just like to record that for the record our regrets for the record anyway, and let everybody know.
Is that something, Mr. Mayor, that we should direct staff to, send a card or a letter with, for his hard work over the years, or is that appropriate or not?
Well, the Conservation Association, I think, will be doing something, and they would kind of know better. I have no idea. I haven't heard anything about what they're doing, but we could. We could do that. We could. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's, since he was a member of the task force, we should perhaps send a card to his family, and I know how to get in touch with, or I can find out how to get in touch with them. So.
Well, I think we should, but I think that's a staff direction.
Sure. So staff will take that in advisement. Go ahead, Councilor.
I agree. Michael B. missed. He's been a significant contributor. I've met him a couple times. Sorry to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, he's really contributed a lot over the years, and he's a good friend.
Yeah.
Any other councilor items? Questions from the public is next. I'm not sure that we have any public on the phone at the moment, do we? Perhaps I didn't hear Jane leave. Are there any questions from the public? Okay, hearing none. We have no closed session. The next item is the confirming bylaw. If I could have a mover and seconder, please.
I'll move it, Councillor Lamb.
Thank you. Seconded by?
I'll second, Councillor Woods.
Councillor Woods. And can I assume that everyone is in favor of this confirming bylaw? No objections? All right, thank you. That is carried. And the next item is adjournment. Mover and seconder, please.
Leaving conference.
Jane Lockwood.
I guess that answers your question.
I'll move that motion, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Woods.
Councillor Woods moves. Adjournment, seconded by?
I'll second, Councillor McEwen. Thanks.
Councillor McEwen. Thank you very much, folks. We are adjourned at 8:12 p.m. and we're adjourned until Monday, July 6, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. unless something comes up in the meantime. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening, and be safe. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Leaving conference.
Judith May.
Leaving conference.
Ryan Woods.
Leaving conference.
Joe McEwen.
Escor Matthews.
Leaving conference.
Bob.
Leaving conference.
Joe Lamb.
Leaving conference.
George Connery.
Leaving conference.
Michelle Hendry. feel guilty?
All right.
Yeah. What was it about?
Oh, it's just a continuation on. The meeting went too long last time, so just held a couple of major items like the landfill over. So it's not going. Construction demolition isn't going into York Street.
Right. You know that.
But I lost the battle in terms of slowing it down and going into
Well, good compromise, eh?
till the end of the year. I didn't agree with it. I'm working against it. Every summer. We worked hard on that. And, Bill Lam and Brian Woods, they sort of jumped in together, so I thought, screw it. I think they have to start it again. I'm going to go set a middle net.
Yeah, he told him about it. He's expecting you and him to go fishing tomorrow.
I don't care. Like, we got nothing going on tomorrow, really, do we?
Nothing.
Thursday.
Today was our big day, and it was a big